This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour being brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford Kia Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. And a terrific service department, whether it's quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. It is a terrific podcast. It's the Phillies Show with Todd Zolecki, Ruben Amaro Jr., and Jim Salisbury. And Todd now joins us. Welcome back. Great to have you with us.
How are you?
Doing great, Todd. Great to hear from you.
Yes, it's a fun time of year for me. I love I love pennant race baseball, postseason baseball, and the beginning of the football season. The fall is the absolute best.
Isn't it the greatest? Oh man, I love it. I'm with you. So the Phillies look, the Wheeler thing's a big blow, and I'll put it in, at least in my context. I think there are only 2 or 3 pitchers right now in baseball that you would count on to win 2 games in a short series, and he was one of them. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at his career postseason numbers. I think he is like top 10 lowest ERA in postseason history of like anybody who's made 8 or more starts in the postseason. So, he doesn't have that World Series ring yet, but you would put Zach Wheeler up there with Bob Gibson, Curt Schilling, in that group. I'm not saying better than, I'm not saying equal,
right.
But
That's
in
right.
that conversation, all-time greatest postseason pitchers, Zach Wheeler is one of those guys. And so, yeah, it's a huge blow, but it's not a blow that they can't overcome.
Which now brings me to what they've done of late, because what they have done of late is they have played terrific baseball of late. And especially what they just did to the Mets. What are you seeing in the resolve of this team in the wake of the Wheeler loss?
Boy, it really says it says that these guys, it's a high-character clubhouse with a lot of great leadership in there, starting with Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. Bryce Harper is just an immense presence in that clubhouse. Trey Turner is a great guy to have in the clubhouse. They have some really good quality starting pitchers. Christopher Sanchez, again, he's 1A on that Phillies list. But yeah, a ton of resolve, and Rob Thompson has really been pressing all the right buttons. He finally started going to kind of platoons in left field and in right field and second base, which now has to be kind of scuttled a little bit because of the Trey Turner injury, but. Everybody seems to be understanding what's at stake. They understand, it's not April or May where you're like, I got to play every day. It's mid-September. The postseason is almost here. Accept your role, go out and win a World Series, and then be a legend forever. I feel like that's something that is happening in that clubhouse right now.
I feel like this is a team that understands it's September because they have enough veteran players on it. And thus there's an attempt by the players to be a star in their role. They don't have to be the star through, but they can be a star in their role. Am I hitting that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Max Kepler is a great example. I think it was in June. The Phillies were in Houston. He wasn't playing a lot. He had, been on the bench 4 days in a row or something like that. And he kind of complained a little bit and said, I'm not used to this. I didn't think it was going to be like this. I thought I'd play more against left-handed pitching. And it was a grind, and there was a chance that he was not going to be with the team in August, that they were going to bring up Justin Crawford or make a couple more trades or whatever. And he's kind of accepted the role that he's in right now, where he's a platoon player in right field with Nick Castellanos. He plays a little bit every once in a while in left field still, but he has been absolutely tremendous over the last month, and that's a great example of it. You know, Nick Castellanos is not happy that he's not playing every day. Just 5 games. It's a very small sample size, but his 5 games this month have been very, very good, coming up with big base hits. And he's a platoon player for the first time in his life, a part-time player for the first time ever in his entire life. But he's kind of accepted that as well. And those are the things that you need to do. You know, like if Max Kepler, who's a free agent after the season, if he finishes the season hot and helps the Phillies win a World Series, he's probably going to make himself more money next year than if he, you know, kind of sulked and moped and didn't finish strong and, you know, all that stuff. So there's a lot of, you know, you win, you can get paid, and you can also, again, you can become a legend forever once you put that ring on your finger.
The deals that they made with the Twins, they got Duran, and then they got a guy that played here in State College, so I know him a little bit, Harrison Bader, who's always been a really good defensive player and a decent enough bat. Let's start with Bader, then I'll get to Duran. What has Bader added to this lineup for the Phillies when he's out there?
Well, he's given them an everyday center fielder, which they've been kind of looking for a while. They were trying to go with Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh in center. That platoon really didn't work for some reason. But Harrison has become an everyday player in center field. He provides, and he's a great defender, as you said, a great defensive center fielder, one of the better defensive outfielders in the game for several years now. So he brings tremendous defense. Offensively, he has provided a huge spark. I think he's got a percentage over 380, so he's been leading off a little bit now that Trey Turner's on the injured list. And most of all, though, he's brought some attitude and some swagger. Not that this team necessarily needed that, but you bring somebody in with a little bit more juice, a little bit more, electricity, bring that into the clubhouse a little bit. It can't hurt. And he's definitely brought that. I mean, you could just watch him walk on the field. You know, he kind of walks with a little bit of a strut, with a little bit of some swagger to him. And I think those things can really kind of juice up a clubhouse, after a long season going into the postseason. He's been a real revelation for this team on the field and off the field.
Duran's interesting because I think there are only 2 or 3 closers out there that I think when you hand them the ball, the game is over. I think Aroldis Chapman in Boston has been one of them this year. I feel like Duran has been the other one. What has he done to the back end of that bullpen?
Oh, he's changed everything for them. I mean, you said it best. Before they got Joan Duran, say even Jose Alvarado had not been suspended, say he had been closing, right, there was still kind of this uncertainty with the Phillies bullpen going into that 9th inning. Is it going to be Matt Strom? Is it going to be Ryan Kerkering? Is it going to be Jose Alvarado? Is it going to be David Robertson? You didn't necessarily have an awesome feeling every single time that they were going to get the job done. But like you said, Duran, he gave a couple hits the other night against the Mets. You're like, oh boy, he might be in trouble here. But then you're like, oh, wait a second. He throws a 103-mile-an-hour fastball and a 99-mile-an-hour splitter. He might be okay, and sure enough, he got out of it. He struck out the bat against Francisco Alvarez. Two awful swings at 2 pitches, about 1.5 feet off the plate, and then he saw him absolutely overpower the Mets in Thursday night's win. I mean, struck out Juan Soto on an elevated fastball about 102 miles an hour up and out of the zone. Just absolutely dominant. And that trade has been absolutely huge as well. So Dave Dombrowski did not have a great offseason. Getting Jordan Romano, Joe Ross, Max Kepler, they thought, again, who's turned it on late, of course, didn't work. Those moves really didn't work out the way that they had thought. But, man, the 2 trades that they have made this July have been absolutely tremendous and have worked out incredibly well.
It's funny, since Schwarber hit the 4 home runs, it took him a while to finally hit 50, which he did, but you knew that was going to happen anyway. But it looks like the Bryce Harper bat is very much alive and cooking since July 1st.
Yeah, I think it was funny. Bryce had kind of a little bit of a power outage earlier in the season, and some people were actually wondering, is like, oh, is he hurt again? Is he not going to hit for power? And it's like, wait a second, this guy is still a tremendous hitter. He still has tremendous bat speed. He's still got one of the better eyes in all of baseball. And I think he, especially lately, you've seen some really good at bats from him, and they've played really, really good baseball since the trade deadline, and they really haven't seen the super hot MVP caliber Bryce Harper yet. So if they can get that guy going and get Trey Turner back and all of that, man, that would be, they could absolutely go on a long run into late October, early November.
Right, so how do you feel the pitching now lines up? I mean, in July, there's no doubt the Game 1 pitcher is Zach Wheeler. Game 5 pitcher is going to be Zach Wheeler. No Zach Wheeler. So how do you feel like they're attempting to maybe down this stretch run align their pitching?
Well, so right now, I think if they could line it up how they would want to, you would have, certainly Christopher Sanchez now becomes the ace of this team. I mean, he could finish as high as second, I think, for NL Cy Young this year. So then you have Ranger Suarez, who I think is earned a spot. I mean, he's been absolutely amazing since Zach Wheeler his season ended. I think his ERA is might even be under 1, or it's definitely under 2 in the few starts since Zach Wheeler's injury. Jesus Luzardo has been very good. I mean, what a amazing performance he had last night. He looked like he was going to make it out of the first inning, and then he retires the final 22 batters you face. so you have those three guys, and now I think the X factor is who's going to be the right-handed starter. Is it going to be Aaron Nola? He's had a really, really bad year, but boy, he pitched great on Monday against the Mets. Yep. If that is a sign of things to come, then it's a no-brainer for me. Aaron Nola is your right-handed starter, and maybe he even bumps out Luzardo in the NLDS. If Aaron Nola struggles down this in his next couple starts before the season, kind of gets blown up again, he really looks lost out there, they might turn to Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler makes his season debut tonight. Now, he pitched poorly for the Red Sox. Of course, they let him go. The Phillies think they might be able to tweak a thing or two to kind of get him back on track. It's a low-risk, high-reward type of move. Even if he doesn't start in the postseason, maybe he can join the bullpen, maybe piggyback Aaron Nola or piggyback another starter if they need it. But he's got a lot of postseason success, and then you have Taijuan Walker. I would almost think that I would be surprised if he cracked into the rotation at some point. But a really strong finish to the season from Aaron Nola, I think, would be absolutely huge following the Zach Wheeler news.
I agree, because he's had some great postseason performances and does not get phased by the moment. You and I both know postseason pitching is different in that the hook is shorter. So let's talk 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. You've got to somehow get yourself to Duran. How does Rob Thompson, as we go down the stretch, how important is it for guys to show that they should be 6th, 7th, and 8th inning pitchers so that he can turn to them and trust them in those innings and in those spots?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think David Robertson. I didn't even talk about him in terms of a July acquisition because he was a free agent signing, but he's been very good. I know he gave up a home run the other night, but he's been very good since he joined the bullpen last month. So you have David Robertson, you have Ryan Kerkering, you have Matt Strom. I think a lot of teams would like to have those three guys in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Obviously, they're not going to have Jose Alvarado, but this is kind of where it comes into play. Say Nola pitches really well in his next couple starts to finish the season. Now, say it's Sanchez, Nola, Suarez, and an NLDS. Now, they only need 3 starters in the National League Series because they get an extra day off. So say they go with Nola, or say Walker Buehler, miraculously rights the ship and he looks amazing. Say they go in that direction. Now you can maybe put Jesus Luzardo in the bullpen. Bring him in as a mid-game weapon, late-game weapon. So I think actually the bullpen, because of Duran and because of Kerkering, Strom, and Robertson, I actually like how they can get from starter to Duran better than I have in previous years. In previous years, it was a little shaky. Certainly it was in 2023. You had a young Orion Kerkering. You had a kind of fading fast Craig Kimbrell, and everything kind of blew up on him. So I like how everything sets up right now, pitching wise. Maybe compared to the past 2 or 3 years in the postseason.
Here's one interesting, Todd, that I think that always has to be taken into account. You and I both know that there are certain starting pitchers that it takes them a while and a process to warm up to start a game, as opposed to a relief pitcher. Does that play in a role as to like, okay, look, we're going to have you come out of the pen, but, and part of the reason I'm going to have you come out of the pen is that it doesn't take you as long in your process to warm up as opposed to him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's certainly a factor, and that's something that will be discussed. But I also think that, like, in the postseason, it's weird how some of that stuff kind of fades away. Like, you hear a lot more during the regular season. Yeah. If somebody's coming back, it's like, well, could you use him as a starter or use him as a reliever? Well, boy, he's never really done that before, and he's so used to starting. He really needs extra time, and we really got to get him up and warmed up and keep him healthy. But I feel like in the postseason, it doesn't – it almost – not that it goes away completely, but it's just funny how all of a sudden these starters can find a way to get hot and get ready, much quicker. I mean, think about like a guy like Madison Bumgarner a few years ago with the Giants.
Right.
Starter his entire career, and all of a sudden it's like the guy's coming in every other game as a relief pitcher and pitching his butt off. You've seen that. Zach Wheeler last year against the Diamondbacks in Game 7. Or no, I'm sorry. Maybe it was 2023 in Game 7 against the Diamondbacks. He came in relief. He didn't pitch in it, but all of a sudden, it's like, he made it happen. He made it work, and he pitched a scoreless inning. So I think if they would go with Luzardo in the bullpen, or Nola, or Walker Buehler, I think those guys can get up and get ready to go. Maybe not mid-inning, but get ready to go to start an inning.
Very interesting. When you look, just one final question, you look at the other two primary threats, Milwaukee and the Dodgers. You've seen them both. What do you think of each?
I mean, they're both quality teams. They're both talented. The Brewers somehow have this, like, they're kind of like polar opposites to the Dodgers. The Dodgers just loaded with, like, superstars, Ohtani, Yamamoto, Freeman, Mookie Betts, legendary postseason players. They have long postseason track records. And then you have the Brewers, and it's like, who's this guy? Who's that guy? Bryce Trang? What? Who's Joey Ortiz? Like, who's pitching for them other than Freddie Peralta? Right. I don't know these guys. I mean, and even Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, has said that. But both of them. But the Brewers find a way to win. The Dodgers have been playing better lately. A lot of people have said to me, listen, this Phillies offense, they're too hot and cold. They can't go win the World Series. I don't know who's going to get the ball to Duran. I'm a little nervous about the late inning relievers outside of Duran, I'm a little nervous about the Phillies losing Wheeler, and those are all valid concerns, absolutely. But you look at the Dodgers' record since early July. It's not that great. The Brewers' record since they won 14 in a row, not that great. The Cubs' record since mid-July, not that great. The Padres, the Reds, the Giants, all of these teams, have, like, legitimate issues. But I tell you what, if you probably would pull every talent evaluator in Major League Baseball right now and said, who do you kind of like going into the postseason? Who do you think's got a really good shot to win the World Series? I think a lot of those people would pick the Phillies because every team has flaws. Every team can get knocked out in the NLDS, just like the Phillies. But the Phillies, I think, are one of those teams that you go, I can see these guys winning the World Series.
And by the way, I'm not sure Pat Murphy knows who all his players are.
Exactly.
Hey, he plays for us? Really? Oh, okay. Hey, Todd, thanks. Fortunately, they gave me a roster. Okay, good. Fabulous.
Exactly.
Again, it is the Phillies Show with Todd Zolecki, Ruben Amaro Jr., and Jim Salisbury. It is outstanding. Highly recommended to any baseball fan, not just a Phillies fan. Todd, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, anytime. Take care.
This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com, here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.